Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth issue of Diplomacy Talks Serbia. Now I have an honor and joy to present to you the Ambassador of Hungary, His Excellency Attila Pintér. Hello, Attila.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Well, we can start immediately with questions between the two countries that are neighbors for, I don't know, 20, 12 centuries. So Hungary and Serbia are entering the new period of good relations after centuries of ups and downs, turbulent and harmonious periods. How do you assess the relations of Serbia and Hungary? And they say the relations have never been better.
Yes, I fully agree with you. So our bilateral relations have never been so good as in the past couple of years. And I think this is due to the process reconciliation, which was initiated by our two presidents in 2012. Mr. Tomislav Nikolić, former president of Serbia, and Mr. János Áder, president of Hungary. The whole process started with the official visit of Mr. Nikolić mid-November 2012. And we continue this process next year, late June, with the official visit of our president, Mr. Áder, to Serbia. And a very important part of this visit was a wreath-laying ceremony in Čurog by two presidents. And frankly speaking, this Čajkaš region was that part of Serbia which really suffered a lot during the Second World War. Thanks God, today we can commemorate together about our innocent victims. So at the beginning of January, we commemorate together with our Serbian friends at the Serbian Monument. And late October, we commemorate also together with our Serbian friends at the Hungarian Monument in Čurog. The past couple of years, we had really wonderful examples concerning our bilateral relations. Since 2014, practically every year we had a so-called joint government session. And the latest one we had in Subotica in 2019, and the next one perhaps we will have this autumn in Budapest. And during these joint government meetings, joint government sessions, we signed a series of agreements which are mainly focused on economic cooperation. Let me mention two very important memorandum of understanding, which was signed by two prime ministers. The first one in 2015, the next one in 2019. And in this memorandum of understanding, we put focus on infrastructural projects because it is our firm conviction that we can develop together our economy. Only if we have a good cooperation in the field of connection of infrastructures.
Yes. Basically, I had one question about infrastructure and tourism too, because the first place where majority of Serbian tourists go, at least from Vojvodina, where we are from, is Hungary. Usually they go to Szeged and they go to Budapest, and we are pretty well connected in infrastructure, and it will be even better with new railways and. I think it's going to be a railway between Szeged and Subotica, and also a couple of new roads. It promises a lot of tourists. And Budapest and Szeged have always been hotspots for Serbian tourists. And what do you think about the increase of tourism in the future in Hungary? And what about vice versa? Can we boost the mutual understanding of people through tourism? I mean, if you know people personally, then you will love them more.
Yes, as you mentioned, so developing of infrastructure on both sides has enormous importance from the point of economic cooperation, but is equally important for the tourism as well. Frankly speaking, we have a very good connection concerning the motorways. But we have some difficulties still concerning the railway infrastructure. From this point of view, has a very a big importance development of Belgrade-Budapest railway, and sorry, and in our view, it is also very important to develop direct railway cooperation, the railway connection between Szeged and Subotica. Because these two cities has always had very good cooperation during the history. Concerning tourism, the past couple of years, Budapest has had bigger and bigger importance for Serbian tourists. I have a lot of friends here in Serbia, and practically I don't remember whether did I meet a Serbian friend who didn't visit at least one time Budapest. But of course, Budapest is not the only destination for Serbian tourists. We can welcome them very regularly in Szegedin or in Mórahalom. So if you visit during, Mórahalom during Serbian, during the weekends or Serbian holidays, you can hear only Serbian words in the city. And of course, it is our aim as well to convince our Serbian friends not to visit only Budapest and these above mentioned cities, but other parts of the country as well. Let's say we have very good, wonderful places in the northern part of the country, and in the southeast part of the country, we have very famous wine regions which really deserve the attention. Concerning a visit of Hungarian tourists to Serbia, until very recently, our tourists mainly focused on Vojvodina, which is understandable for some historic reasons. But in the past couple of years, a number of Hungarian tourists who visited other part of your country was slowly but surely growing. I suppose Serbia has a lot of quite interesting places to see, which really deserve the attention. Let's say famous Serbian monasteries or Serbian wine regions, or Serbia Serbia is very strong in so-called rural tourism, and I guess slowly but surely more and more Hungarian tourists will discover your beautiful country. What is my suggestion concerning toward the Serbian tourist agencies to organize a very, I wouldn't say aggressive, but assertive campaign in Hungary to convince Hungarian tourists to come to Serbia?
Yes, you're right. You're definitely right. I mean, I think that Budapest is the city in the world that I've been, I don't know, most. I mean, it's the highest number of times that I visited any city in the world is Budapest, actually. And I usually fly from the Liszt Ferenc airport, and it has really, really good connections all over the world and through Europe. And what I personally regret is that the generation of my parents they used to go to Balaton actually. Instead of going to the Adriatic coast, they went to Balaton, and lots of times they went to Pécs and other cities during the socialist times. And somehow I think that I remember these stories, but I think that the youth does not remember Balaton that well and Pécs, and we have to promote it. And also, I think the Hungarian youth probably is orientated more towards Austria and Czechia and Poland, and I don't know what other countries are very close and very culturally close and how should I say, infrastructurally close. So after having seen all those places, we have to tell them, okay, you've seen that. Now it's time to see something that you never discovered before. The same way we went to Moldova. A couple of friends went 2 years ago to Moldova and to Odessa, to Ukraine, for seaside holidays, because now we've seen lots of things, and we have to change. We have to find something undiscovered, and I think that 90% of Hungary is undiscovered for the Serbian tourists. So we can benefit a lot. We have a lot of space and lots of potential. Sorry for this little expose, but I think it's.
No, thanks so much.
Hungary. One more political question. We've seen lots of initiatives during the last couple of years about West Balkan 6, about mini Schengen area, etc. And we can't help thinking about Visegrad group back in the 90s. After these four countries, actually there were three in the beginning, Czechoslovakia in 1993 became Czechia and Slovakia, so it became V4. The Visegrad group, Hungary, Poland, Czechia and Slovakia formed this group of culturally and geographically similar countries that wanted the same thing, to join the European Union, to approach it, and finally you made it in 2004. Do you think it could be a good example for the Western Balkan countries, WB6, and how do you assess the mini Schengen area as the core of this region that was made by Serbia, North Macedonia, Albania? Can we follow your steps to achieve almost, I mean, we want the same thing, but can we apply 20 years later?
Yes, of course. Definitely you're right. So Visegrad cooperation, I mean, cooperation of 4 Central European countries can be and must be a very good example for the countries of Southeast Europe. Frankly speaking, I don't like to use this expression Western Balkans, because this has the Balkans in general for a lot of people, not for me, but in general for the people, has a very bad sense. I mean, but so I prefer Southeast Europe. So Visegrad cooperation can be a very good example for the countries of the region. Why? We initiated this cooperation immediately after the collapse of the communist regime in Central Europe. And in 1990, it was a must for every Central European country to have their own or his or her own foreign policy. And our natural allies were, of course, that time, I mean, Central European countries, Poland and Czechoslovakia, later Czech Republic and Slovakia. We signed an agreement about the cooperation in '91. So this year we celebrated the 30th anniversary of this Visegrad cooperation. And although our main goal was to harmonize our efforts in the foreign policy, because every country's main goal in Central Europe was to join as soon as possible to NATO and the European Union. And although that 4 countries joined both NATO and European Union in 2004 or later, or for the NATO in '99, but but we realized that although we joined these Euro-Atlantic organizations, our foreign policy goals remained. So this cooperation didn't collapse after the above-mentioned countries' accession to Euro-Atlantic organizations. And frankly speaking, we have never had so strong cooperation with these countries than today. So every time when we have high-level meetings in Brussels on the level of the European Union, foreign ministers, prime ministers, and presidents have the possibility to meet before these summits and to harmonize our views concerning the agenda. Because if you see these countries alone, Poland has 40 million people, Czech Republic 15, Hungary 10, Slovakia 5. So separate alone, these countries are, I wouldn't say that weak, but weaker than together. But if you compare, let's say, together, if we add the above-mentioned numbers, I mean 40 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5, this means 70 million
That's
people.
like Germany.
Almost to Germany. And if you see, let's say, foreign trade, I mean bilateral trade, let's say Visegrad 4 countries with Germany is much bigger than Germany's foreign trade, I mean bilateral trade with France. So this, I mean, these figures, I suppose, support this political cooperation as well. And I think that, of course, Visegrad cooperation can be a wonderful example for the countries of the region, because you know, it is very difficult to imagine how certain countries can survive within the European Union if they can't make allies or cooperation before their accession to the European Union. So these are, I mean, this initiative concerning mini Schengen area or this Western Balkan 6. These initiatives are really a very useful format of cooperation, and we mustn't forget about that this kind of cooperation must remain even after these countries joined the European Union as well.
Yes, of course. In the 18th century, in the 19th century, even during the 20th century, there was lots of quarrels and misunderstandings, and even wars between Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, etc. And miraculously, it's a great achievement. You showed us that it's really possible to form a bloc of friendly countries that had quarrels in the past, but now they're concentrated towards a better economy, better life, the same political, economical goals. So it's really a great example to see that, knowing what happened in the past. So we had also historical burden in the Southeast Europe. So we always ask ourselves, oh, can we overcome this burden? But I think that you showed us that it's perfectly possible to do that. Even in Eastern Europe, sometimes they say, yeah, it's easy for the Germans and the Dutch people and the French to overcome. They're more civilized, or I don't know, richer or whatever. We're the Eastern Europeans, we're like that. No, I mean, you showed us that it's really possible. So thank you for this example. It's a wonderful example, and it fills me with joy, actually. Tell me about the mutual trade between Serbia and Hungary. We've seen during the last period, I think last 2 or 3 years, that OTP Bank finally bought Vojvođanska banka. First they bought Kulska banka. It's really known, and the people from Serbia can notice the difference. That Hungarian capital is inside? And do you think that is the mutual trade is following the growth of political relations? And what more can we do in the area of economy?
Frankly speaking, concerning bilateral trade has had very significant growth in the past couple of years. Let's say practically we managed to duplicate the turnover of our bilateral trade during the past 7-8 years. Frankly speaking, in my view, the biggest breakthrough came in 2016 and 2017 when the Hungarian government initiated this famous Vojvodina development plan. We initiated it in 2016, and the next year, in 2017, the growth of bilateral trade between our two countries was 25%. From Serbian side, the growth was 40%, by Hungarian side, 25%, but the overall growth was 32%. Before 2017 and after 2017, the yearly growth was approximately 5-6%. Last year, although we had a crisis, this COVID-19 crisis, we reached a historical peak in our bilateral trade, reaching 2.7 billion euros, which was 3.4% bigger than the previous year, although the crisis. And concerning investments, yes, as you mentioned, the biggest Hungarian bank, OTP Bank, has for years been present on the Serbian market, and in 2017 the bank acquired Vojvođanska banka, last year Societe Generale, and due to these acquisitions, OTP Bank has become the second or the third biggest bank in Serbia. But OTP Bank is not the only big Hungarian investment in Serbia. We mustn't forget about the biggest Hungarian oil company, MOL, and the biggest Hungarian pharmaceutical company, Richter, which have been also present in the Serbian market for years. And what is quite still important, that smaller and medium-sized Hungarian enterprises are more and more active on the Serbian market, which I suppose a very good signal, because when I started my career in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, still I remember those sentences which we regularly repeated in different analysis, that we have excellent political cooperation, but unfortunately economic relations do not reflect the excellent political cooperation. Now, due to really good political cooperation and the activity of Serbian and Hungarian business persons, now we can say that we have better and better results in the field of economy. And during past couple of years ago, we managed to welcome the first Serbian investment in Hungary, in Szolnok, a big Hungarian city not very far away from Budapest. So it is very important to focus more and more on economy. And thanks God, if we see Hungarian investments in Serbia, or if we see the structure of the foreign trade turnover, I can't mention you a very important field of cooperation, because our cooperation is so multilateral that I can't mention you a single area of cooperation. So our activity of Serbian business persons and Hungarian business persons are very multiple.
Yes, one good thing is that very close to my home, there is a Hungaricum shop, and everybody can now buy delicious Hungarian food. Not needing to go to Szeged, but we can do that. And it was very popular during the 90s and in the beginning of 21st century. I think that everyone went a couple of times a year to buy the wonderful specialties from Hungary. So that's one thing that people can immediately notice. Hungaricum is such a brand. Now I want to ask you about one thing that everybody noticed pretty much, and that the personal relations between the Mr. Orban and Mr. Vucic, two leaders of the countries, have contributed so much and benefited so much for the overall relations between the two countries. I think that Hungary and Serbia somehow follow similar politics, although they are in opposite blocks in a way. Hungary is in the NATO, Serbia is neutral, not in the NATO. Serbia is not in the EU, but wanting to go. Hungary is already inside for the last 17 years. Time flies. And I think that both countries have good relations with China and Russia. And Serbia is even better in that aspect. But we've seen that the rollout of vaccinations, of vaccination is good in both countries. In Hungary, I think it's the third in Europe now after the United Kingdom and Malta. Serbia is fourth, I believe. And I think it's because we've decided to cooperate with everybody. What do you think about this openness of Serbia and Hungary towards all the sides? It's not present in every country in the European Union. Somehow they are in a difficult position with Russia and China and lots of other countries. But Hungary seems to float quite well.
Yes, frankly speaking, as you mentioned, really our leaders, I mean, Serbian president and Hungarian prime minister, they have had very good cooperation for years. And I'm sure that both countries use this opportunity. That our leaders have had so good cooperation and friendly partnership. It is my firm conviction that we Hungarians and Serbians have always had more common things which connected us than those things which separated us. So practically we have a similar celebrations, similar habits, similar practices. So, but as you mentioned, yes, we are members of other political organizations. But this doesn't mean that we couldn't have good neighborly relations and really good cooperation with each other. I remember during my studies at the university, I read a lot of articles about our common history. And what was quite interesting for me, that during the history when Hungarians and Serbs lived together, it was not a problem for Hungarians to celebrate Serbian holidays and for Serbs to celebrate Hungarian holidays. So it was quite normal on those places where we lived together. So in my view, it is quite normal if we have a common faith, a common history, and a common life with each other to celebrate each other's holidays, and whether it is a religious holiday or national holiday or anything else. Concerning your question about cooperation, Hungary with China or Russia. Listen, both countries has a great importance in a global scene. So both country has had, cooperation with both countries had a lot of advantages. And my countries aim to use these advantages. And sometimes we receive a very strong criticism concerning our cooperation with Russia or China. But I suppose it is quite normal to have a good cooperation with these two big countries. And I suppose your president has had a similar view. So it is practically today it is impossible to negligate or to avoid cooperation with Russia or China, even though Hungary is a member of NATO and the European Union. But it doesn't mean that Hungary doesn't respect NATO or European Union principles or rules, but it is our interest to cooperate with these countries. Concerning the vaccination, yes, as you mentioned, our two countries, Serbia and Hungary, practically we are leaders in Europe, and frankly speaking, in the world as well, concerning the vaccination. Serbia had 3.3 million vaccinated people, Hungary 3.7 million, almost 3.8 million vaccinated people, because both leaders of both countries understood that vaccination is the only solution against this virus. And the results are visible. So figures slowly but surely are decreasing both in Serbia and in Hungary.
Yes, I think I've written an article about the Hungarian spirit that I think it's really interesting now. Hungary has always been a bit of independent and trying to be more independent than the bloc it belonged. For example, if it belonged to the Habsburg Empire, Hungary always wanted to be more autonomous. And even in the Soviet bloc in 1956, I believe, once again, Hungary wanted to be more independent from the central government and to be a master of its own destiny. And I believe that it's the same happens in the European Union. And all the people who don't understand that and who criticize Hungarian politics, they don't know the history of Hungary and the spirit of Hungarian nation as people. So it was pretty easy for me to understand that. You know, having lived for the last 50 years with Hungarians, home by home, we are very, very mixed here in Vojvodina with Hungarians, so you can easily know the spirit of the people. So the last question should be something about this mixture and the culture. We, as you mentioned already, we mixed during the last 12 centuries, from the time when the Hungarians came to Pannonian Plain until now, and we have so many similarities, so many identical customs, identical even clothes from the people from Vojvodina are very similar. National costumes are very similar to Hungarian ones, and I think that we can do a lot in the sphere of culture to get closer. Can we use this chance once the pandemic is over and the concerts and exhibitions and all those things become possible once again?
Yes, since the 1st of July 2014, we have had a cultural center in the heart of capital Belgrade. And frankly speaking, until the virus, we were very, very satisfied with the activity of this cultural center, which practically has become a well-known brand in Belgrade due to the activities of my colleagues who really did a lot to promote Hungarian culture in Serbia. When I started my career here as an ambassador of Hungary, my goal was to promote in this cultural center, of course, the Hungarian culture from Hungary, the culture of Vojvodina Hungarians, and of course, the culture of those Serbs who have been living for centuries in Hungary. Because it is my firm conviction that this cultural center can be a whole only if we are ready to promote these three parts of our common culture. As you may know, in Hungary, we have had for decades Serbian theater, which has had always very good spectacles, and we have a lot of theaters in Hungarian theaters in Vojvodina. So we have a lot of fields for cooperation. We have reopened in the field of culture. Last year, we reopened the reconstructed Serbian Orthodox Museum in St. Andrea in Serbian. And the late Patriarch, Mr. Irine, took part in this event, and the Serbian government was represented by the Foreign Minister, Mr. Nikola Selaković. And when I met him a little bit later, he told me that he could accept that museum even in Serbia. Which I suppose it was the greatest and possible congratulation for all those people who really worked in the reconstruction of this museum. What I would like still to mention in the field of culture and education, since couple of years, we have had a wonderful program in the field of education. Name is Stipendium Hungaricum, and with this program, we offer 45 places for Serbian students for education at the universities in Hungary. And every year we have more and more interested people in this program. So I would like to use this opportunity to emphasize the importance of this program. And what's still very important, that the scholarship program practically provides everything for the interested Serbian students, of course, including the stipendium as well.
Great. So I hope that once the virus is gone, that we'll continue traveling and continue this cultural cooperation, and we'll somehow, I believe, closing to the ending point of this pandemic, and that we're going to endemic situation. That's what the British people say. They're finishing the pandemic and they're entering endemic situation, which is not completely normal, but almost normal. So I believe until in this summer that we'll see Hungary once again. I certainly hope so. Thank you, Attila, for being my guest. It was a wonderful conversation, and see you soon live if the situation brings such events like receptions that we loved so much during the last couple of years.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.